Hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we have a major update from the admins on the future of Hypixel Skyblock Stranded, as well as some updates about the base game. Before we begin, I just want to say please make sure to like and subscribe down below, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. Without any further ado though, let's get started. So, the admins start off here today. We are aware that there is growing discontent with the Stranded game mode for Hypixel Skyblock, and we understand that the lack of communication regarding the mode has become a frustration within the community. I am here today to address that. Sit down comfortably with your favorite device, this is going to be a long read. Stranded is, for lack of better words, in a sloppy state. It is functioning, but not as well as it should. It is in dire need of major updates, including content updates, for it to be on par with the quality Hypixel aims to provide. The amount of work required to keep Stranded up to date is deceptively large. Every single update to the main game affects Stranded in one way or another, often in bad ways. Even a few simple stat changes can end up completely screwing with the balance of it. Simply put, for Stranded to be good, it needs a lot of time, and they show a bunch of CCU graphs here that the game is not actively played by very many people. It came out right before the Crimson Isle at a time of a content drought. There was novelty, and the first few weeks had a lot of players. It didn't reach huge enough numbers, and it was probably for the best. Stranded isn't like Iron Man. The mode requires constant maintenance and does not run by itself. It would have been fantastic if updating the main game would add content automatically to Stranded, but the opposite ended up happening. Every update adding another Stranded issue, breaking it bit by bit. As you can see, over the last 6 months, the Stranded player count averages 49, which is a bit more than 1% of the Iron Man game mode, which is ridiculous to hear. Skyblock players, as they state, would prefer to receive content in the main mode over Stranded. The real solution would have been to shut it down years ago, when it became obvious that they wouldn't have been able to put resources into its development. It took them too long to realize and come to a decision, and for that they are sorry. When they reached that stage, a part of us just wanted to go back to it on a regular basis. Why shut it down? We can give it an update in a few months. They kept wanting to let it exist, thinking that they'd gain nothing of turning it off, and that was wrong. Over the years, a small group of people became extremely attached to it, and it placed them in a weird position where they were ready to shut it down, but it would disappoint a ton of people, so it just kept on existing. This should have been discussed a lot earlier, and they took too long in releasing a statement about it, and that's where we are now. In all honesty, we would rather work on releasing new and exciting content rather than give Stranded a full content update, as it would lead to major delays to the rest of the game. Stranded was never really popular in reality. Would it have grown more if they had updated it? Probably, but then they'd be working on a different game and not Skyblock. Totally reasonable, and I understand the ideas here, where they're basically just saying the server didn't want to invest resources into it because there wasn't a lot of people playing it, but then not a lot of people played it because they didn't invest resources in it, and they would prefer to develop the main game, which had a lot more players on it. So basically what they're going to do is give Stranded a final actual update, an end-of-life update. It is going to be a very small update. They cannot dedicate many resources to updating Stranded. It will massively delay other content on the network. Considering how long it took them to release Galatea, they would rather keep the content coming right now. There will be no new content within this update. It's basically to make sure that Stranded is playable and completable with this update on top of these small changes, and making sure any progress blockers are assessed and taken care of. They want to make sure that it's sustainable, keeping Stranded alive with as little work as possible. They also want to make people aware that Stranded still relies heavily on a lot of the main game systems and databases, and someday, sometime in the future, days, weeks, months, or even years from now, it will break again. When this happens, we will not fix it. The next time Stranded becomes unplayable, we will close it. This is a warning we will be leaving everywhere on the game mode itself. Here's what they learned from Stranded. Stranded was a good and fun experiment, and they learned a couple things. It would have been a lot better if it were completely separated from Skyblock and if the updates didn't impact it at all. They could have fixed any issues much more easily, but they can't go back on it now, so that sucks. Iron Man, on the other hand, is a perfect game mode for Skyblock. It changes the way the game is played without requiring maintenance to keep it running. It's still Hypixel Skyblock in its entirety, but it introduces a different level of challenge through a different set of rules, with only a few changes being required in the game itself to ensure it is not impossible. Future game modes should be made on that image. So Hardcore Skyblock would have been a good game mode following this principle that has been on the discussion table here and there, but it's not, on the table, for example. Keeping these game modes active would never actually delay content updates coming out on Hypixel. So, they want people to share a lot of feedback. They need people's feedback, their pain points on Stranded. They will do their best to gather the feedback, add more to this update, and hopefully it won't take too long to fix. They'll also be going through bug reports, things like that. And once the update, the final update for Stranded is out, the mode will be on its own, and they will add warnings to explain the situations to all the new players. Once this update is begun in terms of development, it will take them a few weeks or even a month to complete. It will not be out overnight. And next, we have another pretty important note here in terms of transparency on recent updates. The foraging update, as they state, caused a big slowdown on the Hypixel network in terms of their development team. Some of their development team were working on the update, the rest were assigned to various projects, both big and small, and when Galatea was ready for testing in QA, they dedicated all of their resources to finishing it, while the rest of the development team continued while developing. It created a QA and testing bottleneck, and it left a lot of finished projects behind to patiently wait. This put them in a position where, when Galatea finally came out, they ended up with a big backlog of small projects that needed to go through testing and releasing, way more than usual. They discussed amongst themselves and came to a decision. They would get into a few months of quick shotgun releases, the 2-week schedule with quick bursts of content that we've been doing this summer, and that did not go how they thought it would. The shortened update cycle was interesting to say the least. There were good and bad parts to it. The good is that they were able to get through most of the backlog that had been piling up during Galatea's late development. Unfortunately, they realized that the process was too rushed, and that prevented them from delivering the best possible updates. The rapid update frequency did not allow designers enough time to go through feedback, and it also did not give enough players to digest the updates and provide proper feedback, making it all somewhat messy. It got us there, but at a cost. They're back to a normal schedule now, around 1 update a month every 3 to 4 weeks like before. They're going to slow things down and return to normal, ensuring that we give previous updates proper post-patch maintenance, and making sure future content is tested for the right amount of time. To make sure that we get a proper gauge of interest and requests for changes, there may be an odd little patch here and there outside of said schedule to address some issues with the July and August releases still, I should mention. So here's my overall view on things. Stranded is an interesting game mode. It's very fun to play conceptually, but right now it's broken in a lot of ways, and I'm very happy that they actually went through and stated a bunch of this information about the game, because it needed to happen. There needed to be some sort of finality to Stranded. Them doing an end-of-life update here to finalize the game mode, get it in a final state, and say, listen, we're going to close it in the long run afterwards, that's fine. Give the players something where they can play the whole game, enjoy it for a while, and maybe in a year or two when things start breaking down again, it's whatever. You know what I mean? They learned some things from Stranded. Hopefully we get some future game modes as well. And in terms of their recent update stuff, I'm very happy to see that they're moving back to the slower update cadence. I think that the fast update cadence was a good thing to get through some of the stuff after Galatea, but there were definitely problems, right? The last couple updates released in a rough state. There were a lot of issues, a lot of bugs, and people did not like that. People do not like the game releasing in an unfinished state. Whenever there's a big content update, you can't do that. So I'm happy to hear about this. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. How are you feeling about Stranded or about their future update cadence, which it seems like there's still a lot coming in the near and far future, which is good to see. Let me know down below. My name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.